The big question has got to be, if we're closing down these hotels to migrants, 50 before January, then another 50 coming straight after that, where do these people go?
Well, good morning. When I took this job a year ago, I said that it was completely unacceptable to be housing asylum seekers, illegal migrants in hotels. We want them to be used by businesses, tourists, you or I, for weddings or birthdays, not illegal migrants at huge cost to the taxpayer. We've worked hard over the last year to put in place simpler, more appropriate forms of accommodation, like disused military sites and barges, and it's to that kind of accommodation that the illegal migrants will now be moved. And so we can close the first 50, and I hope if we can keep making progress with stopping the boats, there will be more closures to come in the months ahead.
The timing of this is very interesting, Mr. Jenrick. We're about a year out from a general election. Of course, we're not sure of the exact date of that. But is it cynical to note that it's believed that these hotels, some of them at least, are going to be stopped being used in Tory seats, marginal Tory seats such as Stoke, and red wall seats where I'm sure you'll be hoping to pick up votes in the next general election?
Well, I could not have been clearer from the minute I took this job that using asylum hotels was wrong and I wanted to end it. So we've been working extremely hard to reach that point. We are there now and we'll be closing them as fast as we possibly can. And we want to close all hotels, regardless of where they are, and return them to their proper use by local communities. The hotels that we're closing in this first set are in all 4 nations of the UK and a whole range of different places. But the key thing is that it's not right that the British taxpayer is paying for illegal migrants to be living in these comparatively luxurious locations. We want people to be in decent but not luxurious accommodation. That's what we've managed to do. And also, as a result of the work that we've done internationally, we have now succeeded in beginning to stop the boats from coming. And so there's been a significant fall this year, over a fifth. And I want to see that continue because, of course, that's not job done, far from it. We've got to stop the boats in their entirety. But as a result of fewer people coming than last year, we're in a position to start closing the hotels.
Can we talk about the Middle East? Because obviously the UK has been backing Israel in this. We're very clear about what we feel about that attack on October the 7th, that massacre by Hamas. And yet the UN Secretary-General, Antonio Guterres, saying Israel's breaking international law in its response. What does the UK government think?
Well, I thought the Secretary-General's comments were wrong. They were unacceptable and they were undiplomatic. He implied that there was a justification for what happened to Israel 2 weeks ago. There is no justification for murderous, barbaric terrorist attacks on innocent civilians, children being killed, burnt, kidnapped. You know, nobody should be trying to make a justification for that.
Mr. Jenrick, the UK has been very clear that it's not asking for a ceasefire. The Australians, though, are asking this morning for a humanitarian pause to allow aid into Gaza. We've just been hearing from our correspondent on the ground in Tel Aviv, speaking about 5,800 people reportedly killed in Gaza. Now, a third of hospitals have run out of fuel there. Would you welcome a humanitarian pause?
Well, we're not asking for a ceasefire. A ceasefire will only benefit Hamas. Israel has to have the right to defend itself and to secure its borders and get those hostages out. We are looking for ways to get more humanitarian aid into Gaza. We've increased the amount of UK support by a further £20 million announced this week. And we're working very closely with Egypt in particular to get more trucks of food and medical supplies through the Rafah crossing to support people. But it's very important that that isn't diverted by Hamas. Hamas has a history of doing that, misusing aid and in particular fuel for their own devices. There have been reports that they've done that in the last fortnight. So we've got to work very closely with Israel and Egypt to ensure that that aid goes to the innocent civilians in Gaza, not to the terrorists.